gang violence and other kind of violence.
Get away! I could be at work, at school, in my car, I can still get shot by the police, but I can get shot anywhere.
So it is what it is.
What's good, shout around? It's a Black Gen Z Mindset. Make sure you go ahead and like, comment, share, subscribe, and let's get into the video.
We are learning more details today about what led up to the death of a Wellington couple. Detectives say the pair was shot by their neighbor.
The Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office revealing today that a dispute over a basketball net actually escalated into shots being fired in the...
God dang. Oh man, I mean the irony, the humor, in the dark humor rather, in some of these situations is just inescapable. You have a murder over a basketball net, and I have no doubts in my mind who was killing over some basketball. These super gremlins are on demon time.
This case, it happened in the Black Diamond gated community just north of the mall, right there at Wellington Green.
Black Diamond gated community. I mean, these stories, they just write themselves. I don't even know how it's like, you can't make this stuff up. You really can't.
WPTV News Channel 5's Chris Gilmore has been digging through the Sheriff's Office report on this. He begins our live team coverage tonight. Chris?
Yeah, we went ahead right away and got our hands on this arresting documentation from the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office outlining the case against suspect Norman Scott. The most powerful piece of evidence by far in here is about 2.5 minutes worth of surveillance video coming from Scott's own home. Now, in the report, deputies alleged that Scott says that he only shot and killed 2 of his neighbors after he was attacked. The surveillance video, though, tells a different story.
So, as you can see, this man lived in this neighborhood as well. So we can't blame this murder on socioeconomic, BS, poverty, and all this kind of stuff. He lives in this affluent neighborhood as well. And you see that he tried to lie to police, said that he was attacked first. He probably was going to call the NAACP right after that if he got away with that lie. But thankfully, he caught himself when his surveillance cameras actually caught the crime in action. Thank God that this man was identified, captured by the police, and is formally being charged now with 2 homicides. You know, that's a blessing, because a lot of times these situations can get dicey and we're trying to decipher what really happened. But this is a case open, case closed type situation. But obviously it's a horrible thing for the family, especially, you know, the children who are being left as foster children. So let's continue.
Deputies responded to a 911 call related to a shooting in the Black Diamond community in Wellington around 5:26 p.m. on Saturday, May 4th. After arriving at the address on Galleria Street, deputies report they found the bodies of Tara Jones and Taylor Jones dead in their front yard. A witness in the report who heard the incident from inside their home came outside to render first aid. Allegedly, the witness asked suspect Norman Scott if he heard anything, at which point Scott replied, "Don't worry, I shot them both."
Wow.
Scott then explained to the witness that he had been arguing with his neighbors about a basketball hoop on property boundaries. The arrest affidavit says 2 of the surveillance cameras recorded the shooting, which show Taylor Jones removing debris out of the yard and escorting his children's bicycle back in front of his home. In the report, Scott expressed during the argument both neighbors attacked before he shot them. Investigators noted that Scott's house had several surveillance cameras directed towards where the shooting occurred. At around 5:25 and 57 seconds, deputies note the surveillance video shows Scott reaching into his right side and retrieving a handgun.
Wow.
Jones immediately began backing away with both his hands in the air. Scott is then seen pointing at the...
So the man immediately, he immediately gives up and says, "Hey, you got the strap? Boom. I'm out." You know? And this guy continues to shoot him. And then he shot his wife. these super gremlins are on demon time.
Firearm at Jones, and he begins shooting. PBSO reports the suspect then turns the handgun on Tara Jones and shot her while she was on her property 20 to 30 feet away from Scott.
Damn.
After shooting her, detectives said Scott walked back to his home while passing Taylor Jones on the ground. Scott shot him an additional 2 times. According to the report, a forensic investigator determined each victim was shot 3 times.
Insane.
So a lot to go through in this report, but at no point in it do deputies describe Scott as being attacked. Reporting live from the Black Diamond community in Wellington, Chris Gilmore, WPTV News Channel 5.
6, malicious and unprovoked. That's how Palm Beach County deputies described the deadly shooting of a Wellington couple outside their home. Authorities believe the couple's neighbor, Norman Scott, killed them. He is now in jail. Good evening, I'm Todd McDermott.
And I'm Felicia Rodriguez. Thank you for joining us. The deadly shooting happened inside the Black Diamond community Saturday. That's where we find our Jade Jarvis live for us tonight. And Jade, what are deputies revealing happened before shots were fired?
Well, Felicia and Todd, deputies say that Norman Scott claimed that his neighbors attacked him first on Saturday evening outside of his home here in Wellington. But now, after watching surveillance footage, they believe the true story is something totally different.
And, you know, this is very distressing because this, unfortunately, is another interracial murder. Black to white, and you guys know that we have really made some highlights on this channel about these specific category of homicides, and they are increasing. And I think the reason why, you know, the media has something to do with it, stoking the flames of, you know, racial tensions and whatnot. And black people are being they're being the most manipulated, the most vulnerable to these types of messaging in the media. And obviously, I mean, it's a horrible thing that happened. And this is something that we all have to come to the congregation to and take group accountability for, especially if you are currently contributing to this type of mindset. Right. And I mean, it really is just the murder mindset, honestly, because it don't matter. These super gremlins are taking everybody out. But I think this one really touches sensitivities, you know, across other communities, because if he would have just, you know, if his neighbor was black, then people would kind of see, OK, well, this is kind of the norm, whatever. But in this case where he killed the husband and the wife. It really just gives a bad light to the black community in general. And man, I mean, we talk about redlining, we talk about housing discrimination, all these things, and this gated community, which most likely has an HOA, is probably going to be thinking about the next person who's applying for a mortgage to live in this neighborhood, and maybe they're gonna cross their T's, dot their I's, and say, hey, you know, I don't know, you know, we may not want to accept this guy. And that is the effect that these bad actors in the community have on the whole community. So that's why we need group accountability, because we have to call these types of things out, but you don't really see many people calling it out.
Deputies responded to the 10,000 block of Galleria Street inside the Black Diamond at Wellington Community Saturday evening and found 2 victims, Taylor and Tara Jones, dead from multiple gunshot wounds. In a police report, they say a neighbor told them he heard the gunfire just before 5:30 and came out to find the Joneses on the ground, bleeding profusely. As he tried to help them, he told deputies Norman Scott walked out of his home, and when asked if he heard anything, Scott said, quote, "Don't worry, I shot them both."
Damn.
In those documents, deputies say Scott claimed he got into an argument with both victims about a basketball hoop and property boundaries when they attacked, and he shot them. The report also says Scott is the one who called 911, but deputies say when they looked at footage from Scott's 8 exterior surveillance cameras, it told a different story. According to the report, the video shows Taylor Jones cleaning up his yard when Scott comes outside and waves him to come over. Deputies say the video shows Jones was not acting aggressively, threatening, or volatile. However, they say it did show Scott clearly upset, yelling and pointing at Jones. Then they say Scott pulled out a handgun and Jones begins backing away with his hands up, but Scott starts shooting and Jones falls to the ground.
Wow.
The report says Scott then shot Tara Jones, who was standing on her property 20 to 30 feet away from him, and then shot her husband twice more after he was already on the ground.
Wow.
And deputies...
And just hearing that description, and that is, you know, straight from surveillance footage, and the police are reporting on the happenstances. It's just malicious. It's just hate-filled. He should also be, you know, I mean, I know it was about a basketball hoop, but somehow they got to start bringing in hate charges, because if it was the other way around, this most likely would be a hate crime, and people would be talking about it as if it was a hate crime. So I think it's only fair to say that he probably had some animosity against white people. And if we look at his social media, I'm sure that there will be something that we could, you know, take from there to reflect it. It can't just be about a basketball hoop, you know? And I think with all the racial tension that's stirring right now, we need more black people to step up and call this stuff out and say, hey, this was wrong. And, you know, I personally know somebody who's stoking the flames. I'm going to tell them to chill. I know this person who's stoking the flames. I'm going to tell them to chill. I'm going to create, you know, a platform where I'm telling people, hey, you know, that this is not right. You're trying to, you know, justify your actions based off of, I mean, quite frankly, shit that happened hundreds of years ago, and it's wrong.
Believe the shooting was completely malicious and unprovoked, especially after they watched that surveillance video. Now, Scott is currently in jail without bond. He is charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder, and he is due back in court in June. Live in Wellington, Jay Jarvis, WPBF 25 News.
What's good, Shadow Realm? It's your boy Jenquavius Jackson, and y'all already know I'm demonetized and shadow banned in this bitch. So if you want to contribute, go to the Cash App, the PayPal, the GoFundMe, or join the Patreon. Also, don't forget to visit the merch store for all your favorite BGZM News 17 gear, including our exclusive Trump is a Blood t-shirt. Go fast before they sell out. They are already flying off the shelves, no cap. And remember, these super gremlins are on demon time.
Well, Megan, Norman Scott is the man who is accused of shooting the Joneses right outside their home here in the Black Diamond community in Wellington. He is a 63-year-old aircraft mechanic. And Megan, I dug through as many public records as I could dig up on Scott, and I found no criminal history whatsoever. And that lack of criminal history actually came up during Scott's first appearance before a Palm Beach County judge on Sunday. Scott charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder with a firearm, and he is now being held on no bond. Those charges are just that serious. And according to that arrest report, as you heard in my colleague Chris Gilmore's reporting, Norman told witnesses and 911 dispatchers he shot the Joneses because they, quote, attacked him. But when deputies did look at that surveillance footage from Norman's house pointed towards the Joneses' home, they said he was the one who attacked them. Now, I did speak with Scott's attorney.
Wow, man. I mean, this guy is complete bad news. Just, I mean, monstrous behavior. And people really get offended when I'm calling these savages super gremlins on demon time.
Earlier today about those very serious allegations against his client.
My client has never, ever been involved in violence in his entire life. He's a sweet man. He's a soft-spoken man. And I am confident that when the time comes, a lot more will come to light that will make sense of the situation. But unfortunately, it will not bring these two people back, and we all grieve with them.
So that's the attorney, the defending attorney. I mean, sheesh.
Now, throughout that conversation, Attorney Brian Packett kept saying there is more than what meets the eye in this case. So I asked him, what are we not seeing in those details that are all spelled out in that arrest report? And he said he cannot reveal that to us just yet, as the investigation and the entire legal process are only just beginning to play out. Of course, as we learn more, we'll bring that information to you. We are live in Wellington. I'm Chief Investigator Jamie Ostroff, WPTV News Channel 5.
Ashley Newby says Taylor and Tara Jones and their 4 children moved to Florida from the West Coast in April of 2022.
Wow.
For Newby, it was an exciting reunion she says was overdue.
Wow, and they probably left the West Coast because of crime out there, and just to get taken out, you know, after moving and going to what, you know, they probably believed was a safer community. Ah, man, it's horrible.
I think we both cried. We cried for like the whole phone call, making plans of them being able, where they were moving to, how close it was going to be to us, where the kids were going to go to school, what sports they were going to play. It just brought our whole life back together that we had missed for so long, for her being, you know, so far away.
The friendship between Newby and the Joneses runs deep. Ashley says she met Tara back in 2003 in Florida when they both worked at Ale House. Their decades-long friendship grew from there.
We did everything together before they moved away, so for them to come back and then meet our kids, because I have 3 boys.
Tara, who Newby describes as a bright, nurturing soul, was there for her through the highs and lows. On her wedding day, and most recently in January, when Newby was grieving the loss of her aunt.
And I just needed her hug and her comfort, because that's just the aura and the energy she gives off.
Now all she has left are memories and messages.
But I actually, on a cellular level, miss you guys. And I said, I miss you too. Then that was it. I miss you too. And now I have to miss her forever.
Wow.
And the heartbreak for the Joneses' children, now without their parents.
They lived for you, and they loved life. And that's what you have to keep that legacy going too.
In Wellington, Chris Gilmore, WPTV News Channel 5.
Family and co-workers are expressing shock over the couple's death. You could really hear the pain in their voices as they figure out what to do with the couple's 4 children. About 3,000 miles away.
It's been horrific.
Gretchen Froelich is in Washington State. There she took a call from the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office.
He was an awesome dad, and they were all about their family and the kids.
4 kids, now orphaned.
7 to 13.
Being a mother, Froelich says, was Tara's favorite job.
Fiercely devoted to her family and growing a healthy family, and she's all about family.
Taylor's resume shows he worked at Young & Associates. After 18 years at the firm where he specialized in insurance-related fields, he was promoted to partner.
Taylor and Tara had an amazing relationship themselves.
Froelich says they met when Taylor moved to Florida. She says they only dated each other. Their family is facing an improbable end. For Gretchen in Washington State, it's tough to swallow.
It's been horrific. Absolutely horrifying.
Wow, man. Just a horrible, horrible story. Community's got to do better. Group accountability. And, you know, a lot of people are bringing up the St. George community in Baton Rouge. And, I mean, it's all starting to make sense now. And it's a horrible thing that we have to keep reporting on. But these tough conversations, I hope, can at least shed a light on these stories, because these stories need to be told, and people's lives are really being affected just by the carelessness and the crash out culture. This is an older man, established man living in, I mean, what it looks like a high six-figure home in a great community. And he's crashing out over a basketball net. These super OG gremlins are on demon time.
Very devastating.
Frolic says she expects to fly into Florida tomorrow. She says for now the children are with the members of Tara's family who flew in from Connecticut. She also says she believes our church is helping as well. In Wellington, Ethan Stein, WPTV News Channel 5.
Gang violence and other kind of violence.
Get away! I could be at work, at school, in my car, and I can still get shot by the police. I can get shot anywhere.
So it is what it is.